Have you ever wondered what evil Elsa would look like, or Joy, if she wasn't, well, joyful? Well, today we're going to take a look at those cartoons as well as so many more, starting with...
It's prom night, and tonight we're changing Elsa's name to Carrie. Instead of using her powers for good,
Carrie is a scary
she used
movie.
them for revenge.
No!
She never let it go. Would you believe me if I
She
said
won't
I've
let it
never
go.
actually seen the film Frozen?
Girl,
But this
please
photo
watch it
really
with me.
Inspired me. Let's cut her away from that Iceland and use generative fill to extend her dress and arms.
I love that
now,
dress.
warning, I get some crazy iterations.
Let's see it. Oh!
I kept trying until I found something I was
Oh, that's good.
move onto her eyes. I'm using the patch tool to basically remove them as if they were never there.
Oh,
Until I got
that's
something
scary.
like this.
So if you haven't seen the movie Carrie, there's like a lot of blood in it. It's really scary. I haven't even seen it myself, but Elsa seems so like pure. She's a queen. She's some wonderful Disney queen? Whatever she is. And I can't picture her as a horror character. I have
Might
no
use
idea what
these
to expect.
eyes. So far, she's looking like Batman, but trust the process.
Those were her
I
real
played
eyes
with
in the
blending
movie, so
levels
hey.
Until I finally got something like this.
Ooh, the
I want
eyebrows.
background
She's
to look
upset.
Something like this version of the poster, and so
What did I
just
tell
went with
you?
a plain black
It's
back.
bloody. It's scary.
And now for the part I'm sure you've all been waiting for.
I don't think I'm ready.
Instead of using a PNG, I decided to draw on the blood to keep that cartoon effect.
She's
I
giving
spent
herself
way
a lot of
longer than
extra
I
work
imagined,
here.
But it came out how I envisioned.
What if Elsa's powers weren't ice? They were like
Final
blood
reveal in a moment.
powers?
Now we need some finishing touches, such as jagged icicles, well, covered in blood.
Oh, I knew it. What if it
For the
fell on
title,
her
I
head?
want her identity to be the forefront, just like in Carrie. So we're calling this Elsa.
Wait, I
Adding
kind
in
of
a
like
few
that
more
print.
icy elements with
It's
a
kinda
clipping
cute.
mask. And here she is. Can we give this ice queen some fire
I'm
rage?
scared. I'm scared. I'm scared.
Elsa.
Oh, wait, that turned out way more scary than I expected. I'm gonna pick regular Elsa. I'm sorry. I don't know if I could watch this
Letting it
sequel.
go.
A Bug's Life, because what's more scary than bugs?
I don't like bugs, but let's think here. How are we gonna make this scary? I think we're gonna fill in these spots here with creepier bugs, and then there might be something bloody coming through this leaf.
Inside your body.
Oh, did he say bugs inside your
Scary
body?
than bugs living inside your body.
Ooh! Oh, that's actually really scary.
Okay,
He took it a
now
step
we
further.
have this. And after 10 minutes of looking at pictures of stomachs, I
Oh.
found this one, and I think you can guess where this is going. Let's make the
skin.
background red with an inner shadow. I'll add a low exposure layer to add some
Scary, he's
shadows on the
peeking
Flick's
through.
face. He's in
He's
the scene.
literally
but
in
after
there.
I'm done with
Oh!
that, I'll add some
The intestines!
behind him because, well, he's in a stomach. And my idea is that he ate his way out, so there would probably be
Nasty!
some liquid coming
Definitely.
out. So let's add that as well.
Then the shadows are gonna come in and change everything.
I'm also gonna put
Splatter.
some on his face and hands, which I think looks pretty good. So let's look at this title and add an outer bevel and some more intestines inside for a
Ick.
similar effect to the bottom. and the
That's
final
smart,
thing
though.
we need to do to bring this image together is add a camera raw filter. So this is the first of 3 Pixar horror posters.
Let's see it. That is so scary and creative. I never would have thought to take him out of the leaf into a stomach.
So after cutting him out, I'm gonna
No, Ratatouille! I feel like something bad with the knives is gonna happen. I don't know if I can see it.
fix his arm on the right so it's not cut off. Let's also remove this knife on the left
Remove the
because
knife?
we'll add it back later.
Oh.
But let's put this one
I knew
into
it.
his arm. And
Oh,
add some
no, I
blood.
knew it.
I'm gonna make a little cut in the
in
tail
danger.
and remove the rest. I'll remove this knife for later, but let's use the clone stamp tool
We
to
know where it's
remove
going.
this foot and add some more to his
Lost a
leg.
foot.
And we also
Oh,
need to
there's a
remove the
little
reflection
nub.
on the knife. I did add the foot back so we can make it look like
falling
it's
off.
behind the knife. So the knife is
Yikes.
cutting into his leg.
Gonna need some blood
Now let's
splatter
bring
there.
back those knives we removed earlier
No, he's
and
moving
just
them.
cut them out. Let's put this one in his head and this
Brutal.
one in his stomach before removing the pupils on his eyes
Where are they going?
using
is he gonna
liquify
have
to
like
make his mouth
X's on
look
his
more
eyes?
life. I'll bring his eyes back but move them into different spots
Ooh.
and add some dripping blood in between
The
them. I
blood
love
makes it
Let's make
so
a hole in
scary.
his stomach.
He
and
said, "I
bring in
love it."
some intestines.
What is it with the
Intestines are the star of the
intestines?
show so far. W
They
intestines
are.
in the comments. I also added a female reproductive system, but you're only gonna see the bladder, and I don't even know
That's
if you'll be able to
wild.
recognize it later. So now I'll
Isn't
add a
the
little
rat a
cut
boy?
in the intestines, and I think we need to add some more blood. So
little
let's
bit,
add a
yeah.
huge blood splat on the
Oh.
wall and make some drips coming
Oh,
down.
poor buddy.
I'll
he
go over
lost
those
his
drips with a
tail.
blood brush to make it more realistic.
A blood
Let's
brush?
make a puddle and then just put it on the floor
kinda
and then
realistic
remove
there.
the blood in front of the title. But I think it would be cool if we take this text from
He's
the original
dying
poster
to
and make
become.
the dying part red. And after cutting out all these knives, I of course added more blood.
Of course. I want to see what the other layers on
So
now.
finally, let's add a camera raw filter to make the colors look more like a horror poster.
Not gonna lie, this is insanely well done as a horror poster. Does it make me really sad? Yeah, and I hope he enjoyed that last bite of cheddar cheese he's holding in his hand.
Let's not waste any time and move straight into Finding Nemo. Because
Finding Nemo. All right, with this movie poster, obviously, I think Bruce is gonna take a bite out of Merlin and Dory, right?
I don't really think this shark is bloody enough. So
Yeah,
let's fix
that's what
that.
I'm saying.
The first thing we need to do is remove Marlin and Dory because,
gone.
well, this shark is gonna eat them.
I don't think they're
But
coming
let's
back.
make the shark look a little bit more scary by removing
eyes?
his pupils. Now, I think we obviously need to add some
I would
blood
maybe
onto his
make his
teeth
mouth
and
even,
then
like,
go back
more
around
open.
and erase some
But
stuff. I
that
do
gets the
remember
job
a
done,
scene
too.
from the movie where Bruce, the shark, sniffs the
smells the blood,
in the
yeah.
water. So let's add some of that too. I'll use Liquify to make it look more wavy before fading it out at the bottom.
Ew,
Let's
it's in
use
his
a soft
nose.
brush to add some red over the eyes. And then I'll make a mask to put it only
I
on
thought
the
he needed
eyeballs.
red eyes too.
I'll add some blood in the water with
Ick.
a smoke brush and then make a copy for
Is there
the
gonna be
bottom.
like a dead fish floating somewhere?
The final thing we need to do is add a camera raw filter to fix the colors. So this is Finding Nemo, but horror.
Okay, I'm just saying, I love animals more than anything. Like, they're my favorite. But to make this just a little more scary, you have to know where that blood is coming from. I would have like one little fish floating. Maybe just the skeleton of a fish. That's a little less scary, a little less gruesome. I'm glad that Dory and Merlin made it out. Merlin made it out alive.
Starting with one I'm sure you will all recognize,
Monsters, Inc.
A fun,
Monsters
colourful
are
adventure
easy to
full
make
of friendly
scary.
monsters and magical doors. But what if the monsters weren't quite as friendly as you remember?
I mean, the
Let's
bad
start
guy
by grabbing this
Sid.
image of Sully here and placing it on our
Sully
canvas.
can't be
I'm then going to
scary,
make a
right?
selection on either side and extend the image with some generative fill. However,
wow,
I
that
think
looks
Sully
so
gets
good.
a little too much spotlight in the franchise, so let's just go ahead and bin him off. Perfect.
No!
Now, before we carry on, let's quickly clean up this lovely mess.
Let's be real, he just didn't want to make Sully scary because he's like everyone's favorite. Him and Mike.
Generative fill has left us.
Who's going in there? Is he gonna make Boo scary?
Alright, it's all looking good. However, I don't know about you, but I like my doors to actually have handles. So let's just
Where?
grab this little doorknob here and pop it on. Let's add a slight drop shadow for some realism, followed by
Adds
a
the
cheeky
depth
little
there.
bit of inner shadow too. And with our basic template complete, the real fun can now begin. Starting
What
with
was
the
that?
true star of the show.
We do love
Yeah,
Mike.
sure, step aside, kid. We're not.
Let's grab
Ouch!
this 3D render of Mr. Wazowski.
He does
and
already
place him
look
behind
scary
our door.
there,
I like the
actually.
idea of him emerging from some horror scene, almost like he's breaking out
Ooh,
of some creepy,
the back
monstrous
rooms.
prison. Which, of course, means we've got to make our little Mikey boy look 10
so
times
cute
scarier.
there.
I'm starting with a red hue and saturation mask over his
Should
eye
add
to give him
blood
that
to
more
the
sinister
teeth.
look. But he's still not looking scary, so let's go
No.
ahead and fix that with a frown. And I'm not entirely sure how
Frown?
logistically this would work.
Is this an
given the whole
eyelid?
one-eye situation.
Oh.
But to my surprise, it actually sells to look pretty well.
Yeah,
I'm then
it
going to
does.
paint around his eye with a low exposure mask to create a more sort of sunken look.
shadow,
I did,
yeah.
however, notice that the frown was lacking some texture. So
Give
grabbing
him a
a patch of
goatee.
skin from his body,
No?
let's just overlay it above and blend it in. Finally,
That's
let's add
blending
one
well.
more layer of shadows just to enhance that dark
Ooh.
sunken look a little bit more.
He
Onto
needs to
the
go to the
teeth.
eye
First
doctor.
of all, let's remove this non-threatening braces-like bar, and instead I'll
know.
bring in this dripping
Braces
image
can
of
be
blood.
threatening.
Give it a quick puppet warp to match the angle of the mouth,
That
and
added
then
a
switch
lot.
to the right blending mode to
Ooh,
get that
he's looking
realistic look.
scary.
And of course, a quick cleanup to tidy it all up. However, I don't think that's enough. So let's get a
not?
little bit messier with
Oh,
the
put it on the
splatter,
door
which
too,
we'll place
maybe.
just above for that proper monstrous look. And finally, one last area of detail on his face. These
Is that
low exposure
a unibrow?
crease-like creepy background. I'm bringing down the exposure to create a darker atmosphere.
even darker,
and I'm
yeah.
also gently dabbing
I'm
in some
afraid of the
darker
dark.
areas. I'm then going to throw in this image of some smoke and give it a green overlay to match
Oh.
Mike's skin color. And I don't know why it would be green, but it just looks kind of cool.
like
got to create an illusion
radioactive.
that the room is being lit by the glowing smoke. So So using a low exposure mask, I'll raise the space inside the
glowing.
door and any areas spilling onto the walls. Now in the film, this room obviously belongs to Boo. So let's
don't
bring her
scare
into our
Boo.
image.
Aw.
We're going to turn her into a solid black silhouette with a slight
okay.
Gaussian blur.
Are we making
This
her
gives us a
scary?
shadow-like effect which we can then
She
cast
looks like
onto
a
the wall
ghost.
and onto the floor. Then we'll
That's
just lower the
creepy.
opacity to make it look a little bit more realistic. This empty space in front of the door just felt like the perfect opportunity to drop a little teddy
Sad
bear, which
teddy
would add
bear.
a little bit more story to the design. Time to bring in our
That's
Monsters
still
Inc.
kinda
movie
cute, right?
title, but we're switching it to solid black with a bright green outer glow.
Ooh,
And
it
we'll get a
matches
slogan
the
for the poster
corridor.
other than the classic.
She has such a good voice.
And I think this horror style font gives that
Always
phrase
watching
a whole
you,
new
that's
meaning. We're nearly
good.
there with the poster, however, let's just bring in a few more shadows around the top and the sides.
He's a
And bring in a
perfectionist.
little bit more light just glowing onto the walls as we're really trying to push that sort of eerie glowing effect. Now, this is a part of the design where I want your guys' opinions.
Let's
Obviously,
see.
it makes more sense for the floor here to be glowing green as if it's
Yeah,
coming from
I
the
like the
room.
glow.
However, this purple lighting I just thought looked really cool. It's just
It
something about
matches
that
with the
green and purple
title.
contrast which I just absolutely love. So although it doesn't
I like
make
it
too
both.
much sense, did I make the right choice by going for a more stylistic
I
approach?
think you do
or should
you.
I have just gone for the green? Let me know in the comments. And with the poster complete, all that is left to do was
see
just
it,
add a
let's
few
see it.
final effects in the camera raw filter. And I present to you a horror poster design of
Would you go see this movie? I actually would because I love Monsters Inc. I also like that he didn't make Boo terrifying because she's just a cute little girl. So he just made her a shadow, which I definitely approve of. But this would definitely catch your attention if it walks
Monsters
through your door.
Inc. I'm honestly really happy with
It's
how
Mike's
the colors
scary
came out. I
cousin.
feel like it just nailed that sort of Goosebumps magazine type vibe, which
Oh my gosh,
I've
it
always
so
really
does.
admired. Now, that poster design was good. However, this next one definitely gets a little bit
What's next?
crazy.
Joy, that looks like Joy?
Look out below! BU this season with my BU anime collection. Build your bundle with 3 items for 10% off or 5 items for 15% off. Get free shipping for any orders over $75. Only on Greenmerch.com. Look out below!
Next up is one of Pixar's most beloved modern
Inside
franchises, Inside Out. A wholesome story exploring our emotions. But what if
This
we
one I
took the
think you
Inside
can
Out
make
movie
really
title
scary.
a little too literally? Let's start with our image of Joy and remove the background.
Is he going to turn her inside out? Her organs are, no, that's too scary, right? Let me guess. So he's going to, she's gonna have like scary, just like big pupils, and she's no longer joyful. She's, what's the opposite of joy? Sadness? I don't know. She's gonna turn into a different emotion here.
I'll quickly patch up these missing areas with a bit of generative fill. Much better. Now let's
Oh,
go
that's
ahead
perfect.
and make Joy look rather evil. I'm gonna make a
Oh,
selection over her
like
eyes so
a
we can
creepy
create our
doll
own evil
almost.
frowning eyelids. And of course we'll blend the edges in with a soft coloured brush to match the surrounding skin
The
tone.
depth.
With that one done, let's repeat the same process
Perfect.
onto the other eye. Now they look a little strange without any eyebrows, so using the pen tool, I'm going to create this black swirl
Yes.
just above. Let's
Bob
resize
Ross,
it and
my
get it into
favorite guy.
place. Then notice that we left the old eyebrow still on her face.
Oh, good catch, good catch.
So let's get rid of that. A quick mirror onto the other side, and then we'll use a soft eraser to
furrowed
fade the
brow.
eyebrows.
This is so not
Using a low
Joy.
exposure mask, I'm going to paint in some shadows just beneath her eyebrows for a more 3D look. Now, what better way to make some innocent characters look
thought her
rather
eyes
sinister
might
than
change
give them
color.
some red evil eyes with a cheeky color overlay.
But she
When
does
designing
look
these horror
evil.
posters, I like to introduce as many shadows as possible for a more sort of
Makes
3D
sense.
realistic look. For
It's
our background,
grey.
I'm going to use this image of a mirror scene and extend it using generative fill. With our
Oh.
background in place, let's lower the exposure so we can work on the light.
She's like,
I'm erasing all the areas that should act as light sources, like the window, as well as any areas where the light would naturally
What if a creepy reflection was in this mirror? I think that would make it even scarier.
reflect, such as the radiator, mirror, and ceiling. I'm then going to bring
Well,
in
her
the
hair's
smoke
gonna
PNG
change colour,
and change the
right?
color overlay to blue,
Ooh.
followed by a blending style, which in
I
this
like
case
that.
is the color option. This just adds a really nice subtle blue tint over everything. However,
It
we're not
does.
quite getting the look I'm aiming for just yet. So let's
to
grab
change
this
your
image of a
outfit or
moonlight
something.
beam and place it over our background. Using the blending modes, I'll switch
Whoa.
it to overlay, which has nailed that more
Photoshop is
mysterious
so
and
complicated.
dusky looking effect I was going for.
I'm
With
so
the hue and
impressed.
saturation effect set to color burn, I'm going to gently paint over our character to give her a warmer, more intense color style.
That
which
does
I think
make her
makes
look
the
more
poster look
serious.
that bit more cinematic. I didn't
Agreed.
quite like the effect on her eyes, however, so let's
Really?
just erase those. Now, every psycho horror villain usually has their weapon of choice.
He's so
it's
cute,
only
though.
right that we give little Joy here
She's
one too.
holding
I'm
a
going to place
knife.
it just above her,
Her
hand,
hands are
and then using a
perfect
pen tool
for that,
selection,
actually.
I'll raise where her fingers are. And of course, the same for her thumb, which I'll
That
actually
looks
paint
so
back in
legit.
to make the effect more believable.
What?
And using a perspective warp, I'll also just increase the size of her weapon so it takes more focus in the
That's
design.
why she's
We're then gonna
giggling.
lower the
Oh, she did
exposure
something
over
bad.
everything everything so we can start adding highlights from the light source. And the floor is looking a little too clean for my liking, so let's bring in this red puddle and set
splatter.
the blend mode to vivid light. I'll then slightly lower the opacity so some of
she's
the
trying to
floor
hide
texture
it.
can peek through. I also decided that her hair was too bright, so using
Agreed.
the darker blue, I just painted over it all.
Because tonight will be
Okay,
I'm then
that's
going to
the
add another
coolest llama
exposure
I've
mask,
ever seen.
but this time I'm creating some darker shadows on the right side of her body, the side facing away from the window. I thought Joy could do with some
Back
more
there.
dripping blood from her hand, so we'll drop
Agreed.
this in as well. We'll add a few splashes across her arms and her face, along with some scratches to show a bit of wear and
Ooh,
tear
she
after
was
whatever
fighting.
crazy rampage she's just been on.
Yeah.
Now let's bring in our inside out logo, and I'm going to paint over it using this red overlay to match
Fair.
the horror vibe. Then a few inner shadows and a drop shadow should blend it nicely
The
into the
shadows made
scene.
it
And honestly,
creepier.
the movie title already hints at a horror concept, so why not just add the word literally
Inside out,
after it?
literally.
One final
Yeah.
detail, I grabbed this rib-shaped silhouette and placed it over her dress.
Ooh.
Using a clipping mask, I'll paint in some shadows around the edges to create that sort of raised 3D effect. Then we'll bring in this fabric texture and set the blend mode to darken, just to let some of those black lines
Creepy.
peek through. And so with our
the
poster design
handprint.
complete, it was just time to add a few finishing effects in the camera raw filter. So here it is, a horror poster redesign of
I'm not gonna lie, like this guy is exceedingly impressive. He's so good at what he does. The only thing I would maybe change is make the dress a bit more different, but I love how he added in like the tears and stuff, and the handprint on the mirror really pulled it all together.
Cute. Despicably. That's a tongue
Is
twister.
it a minion?
Despicably cute, undeniably.
Minions are one of my
But
favorite.
what if the minions weren't just loyal? In
What?
today's experiment, we're dropping these banana-loving sidekicks into cornfields. Welcome to Children of the
Cornfields?
Corn, Minion Edition. I know I want to use Bob and Kevin as the main characters.
I love Bob and
Stuart
Kevin.
is going to.
Is she gonna turn them into corn? Is it gonna be a corn cob with a bite out of it?
I want his eye to be in the center, so we'll move it over.
But he has sass this way.
I found this image from Children of the Corn and knew
That is a scary
he needed
child.
this hat.
Oh, makes sense.
As I'm
Actually,
cleaning it up,
this is
the
still gonna
side
be
parts
cute.
Look like sideburns, so why not add
He's
those in?
crushing this hat.
Now, Bob looks too friendly, so we're going to give him a crooked smile instead.
That's still cute.
I also want him to have more of a glare like Kevin, so we're gonna steal his eyelids.
Smart. He looks less interested. It's like, I can't be bothered.
I originally wanted them to be in a realistic cornfield, but it looked too busy, and so I went
They
back
gotta
and
blend
referenced
in.
these posters and decided to do simple, solid colors.
The
instead.
red background is really
Here's
spooky.
our corn stalks, and now we add
They're gonna
in the
pop better in
characters.
here.
I want them to look ominous and
They're
guarded.
peeking through the corn.
I decided they're going
Ooh.
to be red instead of yellow.
That made them way scarier.
I guess red is the new yellow. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Children of the Banana.
Banana. Guys, first of all, I haven't seen Children of the Corn, the movie, but is it about like creepy kids in a corn maze? Like, what is this about? Not gonna lie, I would still hang out with these minions. I still think they'd be fun. They're just trying to be scary. They're putting on a show.
If you're anything like me, growing up watching Dora the Explorer didn't
She can't be
exactly
scary.
help you learn how to read maps as an adult. What it
I
did
don't know
do
how
is
to
show
read a
you
map.
how oddly committed she was to her job. Like,
She's determined.
weirdly. What if that's because that's all she actually remembers?
She's
In
trapped.
today's experiment, we're going to sever Dora. Let's start
Oh.
with this cute picture of Dora.
She's
We're going to be
adorable.
putting her in a suit. Let's use her suit for corporate work. So
She's gonna
I'll
look
use
fabulous.
this suit and trade her head for Dora's and place that right here. She looks kind of buff. Let's distort her. Now I'll make a selection to color
Okay.
match her neck because that would be nice. I want to use inspiration from the
She just
original
looks
Sever
intelligent
poster
here.
and put her work inside of her head. Let's start
Oh.
with Boots and make
Boots
sure
is
he
in her
actually
head?
has some with generative fill. We'll add in her backpack and
Oh, it's her
map and
imagination.
Swiper as he was my favorite. Oh, he's so
He is cool.
mischievous. I want to block out her eyes as if her friends in her head are all she can
She
actually
can't make
see.
any
Play with the
decisions.
blending
She's
mode
trapped.
and clean it up a bit. There we go. Next, she
Ooh,
needs a new
spooky.
mouth that looks like she's unconscious and unaware of anything outside herself.
The
Right
drool
now,
really sells
everyone
it,
is looking
too.
away, and I want them to be almost staring into your soul. So I'll replace all their eyes
Glow?
to be looking forward.
Oh, the big pupils make it scary.
Now, she really needs to look like she belongs in an office, so let's give her a blue suit like in the show. And
Just
this
like
green will
Severance.
really make it look like her head is open.
Oh, the depth they're
I
about to
decided
add.
to change the background for something colder and more sterile office-like. I want the title to also reflect that severed feel, so we'll slice
Oh, that's a
right
smart
through it and
idea.
define it. For the last touch, she needs a key card, so I'll take the one that's
Smart.
Severance. So, what will we get?
Dun dun
Dora.
dun. The girl who couldn't stop exploring. This is such a creative idea. If you haven't seen Severance, it's like you're trapped in this never-ending cycle of work, and basically she has no choices of her own. She's literally like severed from her body. So, not gonna lie, I would never have thought about this concept, but it is brilliant. I would actually watch this if it was a movie.
And finally, for our last poster design, we're taking on one of
Buzz!
Pixar's most disappointing movies, Lightyear. We all know the Space Ranger for his wild intergalactic
never
adventures.
seen this one.
But what
I've
if
seen
this
Toy
movie
Story,
was
but
his
not
last
Buzz.
one? Let's of course begin with this poster of Buzz.
He looks
and I'm
kinda
going to make a
realistic.
selection around
Wait, pause. Let's go back. What would you do to make this version of Buzz Lightyear horror? I feel like I would make, instead of like the profile, he'd like be turned weird. Like his head would be creepy looking at you with like white eyes. And then there's like an alien in the background because it's in space.
begin with this poster of Buzz. And I'm going to make a selection around his face using the pen tool.
But that took a long time.
Then
Have
let's
to
grab
keep
this
in the
cracked
cleft
burnt
chin.
texture and place it over the top. And click
Whoa.
into position. I'm then hopping onto Envato Elements so I can grab a
Skull?
high-res skull image. And this one works
I would
perfectly.
never have
I'll
thought
bin off the
about that.
background and line it up where the skull would naturally sit inside his head. The idea for this
don't know,
poster
like a
is to show
skeleton?
Buzz Lightyear floating through space after being exposed to radiation
Oh.
in the atmosphere, which is why his skin is slowly
Radiation
cracking away,
Buzz.
revealing the skull underneath.
That's
Which these shadows
creative.
behind should help sell that effect. I'm also going to remove the nose off Mr. Lightyear and paint
Makes
over it
sense.
using the same colors as his space helmet. The skin ripping away looked a little too flimsy for my liking, so I painted in
flimsy?
this fleshy layer behind the
Oh,
face
smart.
to add that extra level of realism and detail.
Now we need to add
Finish,
more
of course,
Buzz
with
back
some
in.
inner shadows and highlights. Now all
the
this
Buzz
text on the
eyeball?
poster was annoying me, so I made a selection and with some generative
was a
fill
lot
was
of
able to
text.
just continue the torso of Buzz himself.
looks
Now
nice.
of course we have to show how the radiation actually got into his suit. So let's add these cracks on his helmet. I'll erase the
Oh, it
areas
got
which
in
are
through
fading
the
into the
helmet.
distance and then set the blend mode to screen, which will make him stand
Makes it
out a
look
little
so
bit more.
realistic.
I wanted to show how he might have been hit by like multiple pieces of meteor hurling towards him, so more than a few cracks were definitely needed.
Smart.
To give the fabric a burnt look, I lowered the saturation of the purple headwear so it becomes more of a charcoal color. Now let's
does
make
look
the
like it was
surrounding
burnt.
space a little scarier. I'll paint over all the blue
alien?
with this red overlay.
Or
then
red,
carry it
okay.
slightly onto his suit for a
I
bit
can
of
see green
reflection.
too.
Then let's switch to blend mode to multiply and overlay this red and black texture of dark space vibe. Using one final exposure mask, I'm creating this
Ooh.
shine to show the red light reflecting off the glass of
Creepy.
his helmet. Now it's time to bring in our logo. And we're
Gotta
going to
make
add
that
these blood
scarier.
splatters on top to make it very clear that this poster is
Smart.
of course horror themed. Then let's finish it off with a nice red tint over the text. And finally, following Buzz Lightyear's famous catchphrase,
To infinity and beyond.
it only made sense that the beyond
Lost
was his
in the
ultimate
beyond.
demise. And just like before, let's
Smart.
polish it all up in the camera raw filter. And so my friends, I present to you our horror sci-fi poster of Mr. Lightyear.
He actually did incredible. I was gonna say, I really think this needs the Buzz Lightyear eyeball, but you know what? Seeing it pulled all together, it doesn't. That looks
Although the
horrifying.
design is
Let's start with Luca. And
Luca's
yes,
such a
I'm
good
keeping the
movie. It's
gorier,
underrated.
bloodier one for the last.
Oh, I don't know what's gonna be
In
last.
my horror-
What would we do here? So doesn't Luca turn into like a merman? I think that's part of the plot. What if something scary is lurking underneath the water? Because we all know the ocean is a creepy place. We don't know what all's under that water.
Real monsters living in Luca's world. They've kidnapped Luca and turned him into
Uh-oh.
bait to lure humans into the water, catch them, and eat them alive.
Kinda
To
what I'm
create
saying.
this concept in the
Something's under
poster,
there.
I first adjusted the colors to make the entire environment look more dangerous and unsettling.
does look
then
ominous.
I added a trident, piercing
Oh.
through Luca's body. That's
No,
what he's attached
Luca,
to.
he's too
the
young.
creature holding him underwater is a
It's an
sea
octopus?
monster, human fishing for his boss.
Honestly, we
who
are
we'll
on the
create
same
later.
page.
After placing the sea monster, I designed tentacles
How do you
emerging
make
from
it
its
so
body,
realistic all of a
one
sudden?
holding the trident and others floating randomly in the
lurking in the
water, waiting for
darkness.
humans to approach.
It's gonna
Next,
pull him out of
I
the
replaced
water.
the sky with a more dramatic, stormy one and color matched it with the rest of the poster. To build the atmosphere
Luca
further,
still
I painted
looks
fog
happy,
layers to give it that eerie
right?
cinematic vibe, the perfect
That's
setting for
very
these
eerie.
monsters to exist.
Is there any other monsters or just the one
Now
with
it
the
was
trident?
time to create the boss. For him, I
needs
used
some
the eye
glow.
of the same sea creature because the boss isn't fully visible. I created a glowing, menacing eye underwater,
Ooh.
hinting at a
Ooh,
massive creature
creepy.
lurking below the surface. Then I fixed
can't.
Luca's legs and tail and added humans on a boat above the water. They've spotted Luca
Nice.
and are trying to save him.
They're trying to help him.
Completely unaware of the horrifying trap they're walking
At least
into.
they're there to help.
And just saying, the next poster, honestly, I wasn't even sure if I should include it.
Oh
It's
my
way
gosh.
too bloody.
I'm
so don't miss
scared.
that. Coming back, I added a few fish swimming away in panic, brought in the
But
title,
Luca has
and
no
finally
idea.
finished everything with a camera raw filter to balance the lighting and tone. And here
my
it is,
gosh.
our horror version of Luca.
We were on the same page. What did I say at the very beginning? I would put something creepy under the water, and that's exactly what he did.
Now, the story continues
Not
with
Mike.
Monsters University, and
He
this
does
one
not
gets
look like he's into this.
seriously dark.
He's like,
so
"Really,
here's
man?"
the story. Mike and Sully are rivals, but somehow Mike gets trapped, and Sully,
Uh-oh.
well, he's about to eat him, or maybe
He's
even
about
sell
to
his
eat
body
him?
parts somewhere.
I thought they were
don't know.
besties.
But because Mike is incredibly smart, Sully had to make sure he couldn't escape. So he
So
used wooden
he's on a
planks
wall.
and nails to pin him to the
Oh,
wall
the
so
nails.
tightly that Mike has started bleeding.
I feel
To
like
build
Mike's
that,
facial
I replaced
expression
the
has to
tape from the
change.
original poster with wooden planks, then hammered in nails through them.
At least they're not on his arm, right? It could be worse.
And since Mike was screaming too
The
much,
tape.
Sully taped his mouth shut,
No,
which
Sully,
completely
why would
changed
you
Mike's
do this?
expression. To create that expression, I removed his eyelid,
Yeah, I was gonna say he needs to be like, ah!
slightly morphed his lower eye using the liquefy tool, and then moved his pupil downward, making it look like
Ooh.
he's glancing at something below. And
Which
if you're
it's
wondering
Sully.
what he's looking at,
Sully,
well,
right?
You'll find out the moment this progress bar gets completed.
Oh, I'm
now for my
nervous.
signature detail. To make a character
Oh,
look
the
in
veins
pain,
in the
I always add
eyes.
vein textures inside the eyes.
That did it.
Instantly makes them
And a
look
couple
more
are
stressed,
darker.
more terrified.
I'm
Then
stressed.
I removed the flag from Mike's other hand, duplicated
Oh,
his right hand,
like
and
reaching
used
out for
puppet
help.
work to adjust the finger position slightly, giving
How
it
is he so
slightly
talented?
different
This is
posture.
crazy.
And now it's time to paint
Oh,
the blood.
poor Mike. I'm disturbed. Oh no! Now is Sully gonna look normal
I
down
also
there?
added blood on the wood and nails, later painted it on Mike's
So
hands and feet as
scary.
well. And with that much blood flying around, of course, some of it splashed onto the wall too. So I
Ick.
painted that as well.
Ick! I thought it would be less bloody because the nails aren't on his legs and stuff. But
To make
I was
everything
wrong.
look more dynamic, I layered extra blood textures for depth. And don't ask me why he's bleeding from below. Maybe it's from the
don't
back
wanna
of his
know.
head.
I
or
don't wanna
maybe
know.
something even worse.
I don't
Now,
wanna know!
It's time to make Sully a real sadist.
gonna say,
First,
he looks
I
normal
changed
right
his
now.
fur color. The original one looked way too friendly.
Now he's navy
then
blue.
I made his teeth longer, his
Pointy.
horns sharper, and his eyes
Ooh.
redder. And of course,
No, I
since
like
he's
Happy
the one
Sully.
torturing Mike, I splattered some blood on his body and hands. Then I
Ick!
thought, what if I made his mouth filled with blood? That
Yeah.
instantly took the scene to a new level.
Agreed.
Now you can't help but
The progress
wonder,
bar is
why
almost
is there
there.
blood in his
We're
mouth?
about to see
Did
it.
he already bite Mike? Did he drink his blood?
There's a
Or is
lot of
something
blood.
even more disturbing going on.
What?
Now remember earlier when I said Mike was looking down?
I
Well,
did.
This is what he's looking at. A shelf
A
full
bunch
of
of
Sully's
tools.
tools. He's
Oh,
already used 2 of them to pin Mike to the
no.
wall. And now Mike is staring down, terrified,
No,
trying
no,
to guess
this is so
which
scary.
tool
This is
Sully
one
will
of the
pick
scariest ones
next.
yet.
I added blood on the hammer and handsaw,
Oh!
then finished off with the title and final color adjustments. And here it is, the
Oh,
horror
it's
poster.
so
filled
scary.
with
The
blood
only way you
and
can save
gore.
Mike is if you click one of the next
Today we're
videos before they disappear. Would you watch any of these as a sequel?